started. And it is now streaming live on YouTube. Perfect. I believe we can wait a couple of more minutes. We still have people joining in, I believe. More people joining in. Okay. I think we can get started. All right. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Ravina Nimbalkar, and I'm the Executive Director at NAMI Santa Clara County. Before we begin with the presentation tonight, I'm just going to go over very quick updates at NAMI Santa Clara County. Our helpline is running from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday via phone as well as email. And we also have our office open from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. for walk-ins Monday through Friday. After our family support is available on evenings and weekends. So all our support groups are listed on our website. Our website is www.namisantaclara.org and offered over Zoom, as well as some of the support groups are offered in person as well. For our education classes, such as family to family, familiar to familiar, persona to persona, peer to peer, provider education, you can contact our helpline number. Our number is 408-453-0400 and select option number 1. And you can speak with our helpline staff. And if you're interested in any of the classes, you can put your name in the interest list. NAMI Basics is on demand and on our website, and you can take it at your own pace. And so is NAMI Homefront. The next FaithNet MH101 is going to be on May 16th at 11:30 a.m. Again, you can call the helpline to get more information. We are also organizing an open house for faith leaders on April 19th, and you will hear more information about that. If you're interested, you can reach us as well. The community peer program continues to match via hospitals as well as self-referrals. Again, we do have more information about the community peer program on our website, and there's also a form that you can fill in if you're interested in it. So NAMI Walk Silicon Valley is on Saturday, October 5th. I believe you must have all received the save the date email today because our website has been launched. And we have also been very honored to know that the NAMI Walk Silicon Valley was in the top 10 amongst all the NAMI walks in fall as well as in spring of 2023. And we have some great news that we have just hired our events coordinator. Her name is Christina Alanis, and she started her position last week. And we also sent out an email introducing her and her information. So If you have any questions, please do reach out. The annual NAMI picnic is on Saturday, June 8th at the Family Circle area at the Kelly Park. And we'll be sending out the more information soon, and you'll also see an invite that will come through your way. Okay, so that's about it that I had with the updates. Now I would like to invite Bez Lozoff, Vice President of the Board at NAMI Santa Clara County, to make some announcements.
Hi. Every year at this time in March, we vote for the new officers for our board of directors. Last month, the slate of officers was announced, and the membership has to vote on that board, on the slate. It was also published in our newsletter. Let me tell you who is on the board, who is on the slate. President Uday Kapoor, Vice Presidents Beverly Lozoff, Juan Perez, Frank Alioto, and Maureen Milo. Treasurer Steve Wade, and Secretary Peter Newman. And now it's time to vote. So we'd like you to do that by raising your hand. You should see a function at the bottom of your screen that says raise hand. And that would be if you are in favor of the slate of officers. And Rovina will count the number of hands that are raised. So we'd like you to do that now.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people who have raised their hands. 6. I think some people are still joining us. 6 hands have been raised.
Rovina, how many people have signed in?
10. But there are some people who are still joining in.
Mm-hmm. Well, we need a majority of the membership that's in attendance. So we should probably wait a few seconds.
Yeah, so we do. Right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 raised hands. Okay. And I believe some have just joined in, so maybe they might not know why they're raising their hands. I believe Sharon just messaged that maybe we can do this later with a repeat of why. Okay, now we have 11 attendees. Oh, and I didn't count your votes, Bev and Marie, so 8. 8
And
out
we
of
already
11.
have a majority then.
Yeah,
right.
we do.
Yeah, so we're good. I'm taking my hand down now.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. I would like to invite people in the audience to come and join us at board meetings. They're open to the public, and it's a great way to learn more about what we do at NAMI. And there's information in the newsletter every month about the board meetings. Okay, is it back to you, Rovina?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
And thanks so much, Bev. Thanks for that. Thanks everyone who voted. Really appreciate that. So now I'm going to hand it over to Maureen.
Okay, my turn.
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. All right, it gives me great pleasure tonight to introduce Paula Giannoni, and she is a community collaborator with Momentum for Health, where she bridges the gap between the community and the trust programs, which we're going to talk about tonight. Paula is a Bay Area native with a degree from De Anza College in sociology, and she's working to complete her bachelor's in the same discipline from San Jose State University with a focus on community change. Paula has been a peer navigator who has dealt with her own mental health and wants to help others wants to bring greater awareness to others, especially in her Hispanic community. Today, Paula's going to talk about trust, how it came to fruition, what differentiates trust from other mobile crisis programs in the county, and other specifics that I think you'll find really interesting. Before we talk about that, I just want to mention that there is a Q&A option in the chat, in all the boxes down below, our little box. And if you want to ask a question, please put in the Q&A. If it lands in the chat, we'll still find it. And then Ravina will come back after the presentation and ask the questions to Paula. So we should have that all in place. Okay, Paula, thank you so much for being here with us this evening to speak about our community, speak about the community, about trust. And, you know, it's the newest mobile crisis team out there helping people. And as I have learned, it is making a big difference. So can you explain, let's start off with, can you explain to our audience what the acronym TRUST stands for and why it was created?
Yes, well, first and foremost, thank you so much for that great introduction. I definitely want to be able to provide some type of visual, right, to make sure that we're engaged. And it looks like today's presentation is going to be a Q&A between Maury and myself, and then we're going to keep going back and forth and try to get all the answers, right, of this program. So I will be sharing my screen real quick. That way we can all be on the same page. Please let me know if you are able to see that.
Yeah,
We're
all good.
Yeah,
Good.
all right. So to answer your question, right, it's an acronym, right? So TRUST program, it's going to be our Trusted Response Urgent Support Team. That is going to be the acronym of what our program is. As Marie mentioned, we are a Santa Clara County program, and this is overseen by two different organizations. So both Momentum for Health, which is the team that I'm a part of, and Pacific Clinics. So Momentum for Health oversees the North County part of it, and then South County is overseen by Pacific Clinics.
And you want to explain a little bit about how trust came into being? It's a very grassroots operation. So maybe talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, of course. So on your screen, you're going to see a timeline, right? So it has a lot of information there. But what I can definitely advocate for is that this program was created for the community by the community, right? So what does that mean? That means that there was a community call for action in summer 2020, and it flourished into this great process to be able to implement a program like this, right? So as I mentioned, we are a mobile crisis team, and that was something that the community needed, right? And in sense, it has been the voice of the community that has partaken in every single step of the way, right? So everything from the logo, so I'm wearing like our trust gear today, but so everything from our logo is created by a community, right? So there was a contest for a community-wide logo design contest, and they were able to create it, right? We have our decked out vans now that are available to be part of the community. So it's just really emphasizing on that for the community by the community emphasis.
But I think too, if I can just step in there for a minute,
Yeah.
I think the key here was that a number of families lost loved ones to police actions. And so the emphasis was to create a non-law enforcement unit that people knew if it rolled up to their house or they were in a park or anywhere, that there would be no police with them. There wouldn't be the threat of somebody potentially killing them, which is one of the reasons why this program came to fruition.
Yes, yes,
And
you're
what
very
make
correct.
right.
That this is a non-law enforcement program. So that means that we do not respond with law enforcement, right? We do have partnerships with our police departments within the cities that we oversee to make sure that we are providing the best support for our clients, right? And also for the safety of our team as well, right? For any situation, we want to make sure that we are taking safety and precautions as needed. But with that said, we are non-law enforcement. So that could also bridge a community, right, to be able to feel that trust, right, of receiving those services and receiving those resources. And, sometimes calling 911 is not going to be the ultimate answer. So making sure that you have an alternative when you are going through a mental health crisis or a substance abuse crisis, you know that you can count on, a different form of service to be able to help you out. So that's a great point. Thank you, Marie.
Of course, and the people wouldn't even be calling 911, right? They'd be calling 988 and asking for trust directly to avoid another way to hopefully avoid having law enforcement show up at your home or wherever you are when the crisis hits.
Yes, exactly. So the way that you access us is going to be by calling 988, right? So expanding that narrative of 988. I know that, for myself growing up, 988 was going to be just a suicide hotline. Well, not anymore, right? Now it's going to have extended services for you to be able to feel like you have that additional support. So 988 is going to be the call number that you would call and you would request a trust team. And we're available 24/7. So at all hours, right? Does not matter what time and 365 days. So we don't take any breaks. We are here for the community at all times.
And how old are this is not for minors, is that correct, Paula? This is for 18 and over?
Yes. So unfortunately, the only restriction that we do have is the service is only available for 18 and older. But with that said, there are other mobile crisis services available for youth, and we can definitely go over that. So you can be aware of that for yourself, for your family member, or for the community that you work with.
So a crisis team rolls up to, let's say, your home. Let's say your parent called because they were unable to calm down. Maybe their child was in the middle of a psychotic episode. Who's coming off of that truck? Who's going to be there to help them?
Awesome question. So the team composition here is going to be from 3 different positions. So one, we don't want to overwhelm someone with like a group of 10 people there, right? We want to make sure that we have effective and actual help to provide, right? But not overwhelm the person in crisis either. So we have 3 positions that go in every single turn, that shifts that we have. And the first one will be the peer navigator. So the peer navigator has gone through certification and is somebody who has had hands-on experience with mental health and mental health services, right? So they know how to have that one-on-one connection with the clients and is able to help them in a one-on-one form. We also have a rehab specialist who is able to provide any support for any substance abuse crisis. And we also have a first aid responder who is an EMT certified responder. So we have all, right, the physical, the mental, and also any type of substance abuse that we have at hand. We're able to accommodate and help, right, in the proper services that they need.
And one of the things that I understand that trust does is that they not only come out and try to de-escalate the situation where an individual is, to calm them down, to help them get through the moment, but they're also there for the family as well to provide them with information and support. Can you speak a little more about that too, Paula?
Yes. So we are very we know the realistics of a scenario, right? Not every single time we are going to be received and said, yes, we want to receive these services, right? So with that said, we do not stop um, giving that support to the individual, the clients, right? Because we are an at-will service. So that means if the individual does not want to receive any resources or services, we have to respect that, right? And but we see what's around us, right? Is there a parent in distress? Is there a friend in distress? Is there a family member in distress? Is there any way that we can provide our services or resources to them as well? Because it's not just a one person, right, situation. Sometimes it does obviously trickle to a family member, to a loved one who is also going through some type of mental health situation. Who knows, right? So making sure that we provide our services to anybody who could ideally need that, we want to make sure that we accommodate as well.
Can you cite an example of with clearly, not naming any names, of course, for confidentiality, but just maybe an example of what might happen? How would that work? I know that I've listened to incidents that have turned out really positively, and I'm wondering if you can maybe give the audience an example of one of those.
Yeah, of course. So I can provide one quick example. So we had a distressed mother who was very concerned about her son's old college son um, well-being, right? He was showing signs of distress, change of mood, not really wanting to take their medication that has to do with mental health, didn't really care for anything, right? Did not really get out of their room. It was to the point that it really grew some concerns for the mother. So she was the one who initiated that call with 988 and requested the trust team, and the trust team was dispatched to her location, and we were able to make contact with the individual. He decided that he did not want to proceed. He did not want to talk to our team and did not wish to receive any resources. Um, Being at that location, we could see that she was distressed, crying, not feeling so well. So we decided to pivot our attention to her and make sure to let her know if she needs any type of services or resources that were there to support her as well. So we were able to connect her with proper resources that she was looking for. And I don't think at that time she was really thinking, right, like this is about me. No, this is about my son, right? So for us to be able to make sure that, we're there for you as well is something that I think is very empowering, right? To make sure that we are looking out for everybody, even the individuals that are looking out for their loved ones and are not really focused on themselves. I think that was a very effective call to be able to reassure her, right? And one thing that we do as well is that we do follow ups. So we know that maybe sometimes first time engagements are not going to go as planned. And we still want to be able to connect with the individual at some other point just to make sure, they have a change of heart or they decide, yeah, maybe I do want to, seek out services today because I'm calmer or I'm not in distress as much, right? So we do provide 1 to 2 follow-ups just to make sure, like, even if the conversation went good or bad, we want to make sure, how did those services go, right? How did those resources go? Or, how are we feeling today? How can we communicate more effectively, right? So those are the things that we look out for as well. So we hope that it's not just one-time engagement, that we continue that pattern.
And also there is a lot of resolution that happens just through a phone call to trust, right? So maybe you can talk about that a little bit as well.
Yes. So the process when you call 988, you are going to get the 988 call center, right? And they are certified members and peers who are able to, one, de-escalate the situation by phone if possible. If not, they are able to transfer you to the Trust Call Center. And with the Trust Call Center is also peers and certified employees who are able to, one, attempt to do that de-escalation through the phone, But if not, they can dispatch our team to your location, right? So there is that possibility to be able to just talk it out, because some individuals just need to talk it out, right? Just need to be heard. So we definitely provide that as an option. And that's what sets us aside from any others, mental health service, is that we come to you. We make sure that you are okay and you don't take that extra step to go to a location and, make an appointment or get dressed or get ready. If you're in crisis, you're going through something right now, it's better to just meet you where you're comfortable.
And I don't know if you have statistics with you, but I do recall that it was over 1,000 calls, I believe, that has come into trust since you started, which was in November of last year when trust launched. Is that correct? Or
Yes, yes. So unfortunately, I do not have the stats, but I can definitely advocate that we have seen a higher number in calls. So we launched, I believe, in November. We completed a year, right? So we are a baby nonprofit, right, organization, but with the services, but we're flourishing. One thing that we definitely want to do too is that we don't want to just sit in our office and wait till we get called, right? We are out there at events. We're out there at different visibility routes, making sure, like, are there any ongoing food distributions every week? Is there something that's ongoing, right? Where can we be so we can be visible? And to the point that if somebody sees us on the freeway, they know who we are, right? I think that's the biggest goal.
and now we just recently, trust was in the North County. It recently launched in the West Valley. So you in the North County, South County, and San Jose itself as a whole, right? So South County is Gilroy and Morgan Hill, that location. Is that correct? Do I have that right? Or?
Yeah. Yeah. So South County would be considered like all of San Jose. Sorry. All of San Jose, Gilroy, Morgan Hill. And then now we have West Valley, which is, Saratoga, Cupertino, to name a few. So it is very much expanding. And we are just making sure that we are covering the whole Santa Clara County at some point.
Yeah, and West County would be Los Gatos, Saratoga, Campbell, and Cupertino, I think. So that's all new, and it's very exciting that now the entire county of Santa Clara is covered. It's so that's really a tremendous thing. I just wanted to also ask, maybe it would be great if you could delineate for the community what are the different types of mobile services that are out there, and how we know the trust is of them the only non-police unit coming out. There's no law enforcement on it, but the others do have law enforcement, correct?
Yeah, I can definitely go into that now. So as Marie mentioned, we do have, other behavioral health mobile programs that are available for the county. And, to some, these are new programs that they've never heard of, right? So I just want to make sure that we're bringing this up and providing this resource for everybody to understand that there's more than just, one service that you heard of today. So we have this triangle form here. So at the very peak and all the way at the bottom, right? So at the bottom, you can see us right there, the trust team, right? So we're going to go to the very top first, and that is going to be the Psychiatric Emergency Response Team. In other words, PERT. So we love acronyms, right? So PERT team. So this one, this team is activated through 911 automatically. So you do not have to call 988 and request the PERT team, because that's not going to happen, right? So the PERT team is activated through 911 calls, and it's a clinician and a law enforcement going together for a call. And this would be for the highest level of crisis calls, right? So this is the most intense level of service, and the only downfall is that this is not available in every single department in every single city. So I know that Santa Clara has a PERT team, and I know that Palo Alto has a PERT team for the cities that we oversee. The next one, which is the most popular one to use, is going to be the Mobile Crisis Response Team, so MCRT. And that one is going to be activated through the Behavioral Health Services Department call center, right? So this one is also consisting of clinicians, and they are responding with law enforcement, right? And so that's something to keep in mind. And this is going to be more of a mid to high level crisis as well. Now, I did mention that we do not serve any clientele that's 18 and younger, and that's where the mobile response stabilization services come into play. So the MRSS is going to be for youth services. So that's going to be from elementary school all the way to 25. So this one is actually activated through Pacific Clinics, right? So the phone number is right over here. And this is going to be services for youth, right? So this is very important information to be able to provide for somebody who's 18 and younger and doesn't meet that requirement just yet for trust. Now, trust is going to be right here at the bottom. So that means that we are the lowest level of crisis, right? So somebody who has a change of mood, somebody who just actually is grieving, has just lost their loved one, somebody who has questions about their medication, and behavioral health, somebody who just needs that extra support. It could also be an unhoused individual, somebody who's outside Safeway, right? Or outside the library. And, the cold season is soon leaving, but it's still here. So if somebody is like without any sweaters or jackets and you just feel for them and want to make sure that they're okay, you can definitely do a call and be able to call and make sure our team comes and just checks up on them, right? We have donations in our vans. We have COVID tests. We have masks. We have, sanitation items. Anything that they could use at that time, we have that available for them so they can be, in better hands. So that is the spectrum of the behavioral mobile services that we have for the county.
Thank you. And I think too, what is important maybe for our community to understand too, is that a lot of times the higher level services will involve somebody who might be have suicidal behavior, might have a weapon, which immediately would draw law enforcement out there. So it's a very serious level of crisis. All kind of psychotic breaks are serious, but this adds another element to it that makes them, if the person, appears to be violent or something like that. And I do believe you've mentioned at times where occasionally trust will have to call in support for your team because it's escalated to a level that isn't where trust can do the job. That's happened a few times, correct?
Yeah. So one of the great things that we love to do is connect within these behavioral mobile services, right? And know each other and make sure that we're connected. The reason why is because we don't know how that call is going to go 100%, right? Our goal is to de-escalate, make sure that we're there, make sure that we are somebody that they can count on, but we can't, sometimes it doesn't happen like that. And in situations where it does escalate, right? If somebody is becoming a little bit more harmful for themselves or is threatening to hurt somebody, right? We want to make sure that we are providing that appropriate help, right? So if we could, transition that client with somebody else who could be more of help, right? With MCRT, or if it is the highest level, right? Call 911 and automatically PERT will be activated as well. Just making sure that we have that connection. We do not leave the premises. We do not, just say we called, we're taking off, right? We want to make sure 100% that that client is being supported and it's being helped the way that they should. So we do not make that transition in clientele until we know that that is happening.
And also, you don't have the authority to do 5150s. You can't do holds, correct?
So we do have the capability of
doing that. Okay.
Yes, we
got that now.
do. We advocate not to, right? Because we are a low level crisis program. We want to make sure that we stay away from that, right? We want to maintain that, but we do have the capability. So
Okay.
with that said, just for reference, we do.
All right. Okay.
We
Good.
always try to bring in another team to be able to support with that.
And conversely, you have had law enforcement call you to say that trust would be better at handling a particular situation and that law enforcement would like to step out. So that's showing a really positive way for something that it won't turn into a catastrophe or fatality or anything like that, because law enforcement sounds like, at least to some degree, they're beginning to understand that there's another avenue for people who need help, and it doesn't have to be through the police. So maybe talk about that a little bit, because that's a really great thing.
Yeah. No, yeah, that is a great point. So like we mentioned, right? We are an alternative to law enforcement, and we want to make sure that the community knows that. But it's also very important for us to be able to have that, partnership with the police departments because of what you just mentioned, right? We want to make sure that we are there to support also police officers if they feel like, okay, somebody else is probably a little bit more adequate to be able to provide the services for this individual, they can take it on, right? And that's what we want. We want to be able to make sure that the law enforcement is enforcing, the 911 calls and making sure that they're providing that support. And we can focus on making sure any behavioral services that they need, we're there to be able to do that. One cool thing too, that we are mobile, so that means that we have a van, right? So if somebody needs to go to like a crisis stabilization unit or, needs to have that support, go to a rehab center or something, we are able to provide transportation as well, right? Obviously not to, to your cousin's house or, to your grandma's house, but we can definitely be able to do transportation to a location that would help you at that time if you are going through a crisis. So yeah, that I think that is something that really has been very fortunate for us, that we have had great partnerships with the police department, and they have been so positive in receiving the program and understanding, like we're here to support, we're not here to create any type of conflict or make sure like there's not a misunderstanding. We're just there to make sure that we're providing support to the community individually, but also as a whole. So how can we provide that as much as possible?
Yeah. So, I mean, I just remember one of your team mentioning how law enforcement actually called over to you, to the trust unit to say, hey, you guys come, I think you can help better than us. And so just bringing that awareness. Is trust working to educate various law enforcement teams? Are they going out to different cities to talk to them about what trust offers? I mean, it's still so new, I'm just wondering how many people are learning about it,
Yeah, of course. So that's under my umbrella, right? So the community collaborator is somebody who really just focuses on outreach and building those bridges, like you mentioned, right? So with that said, like the police department is one of many entities that we make sure that we can do outreach, not trainings, right? Making sure that we're providing presentations like this, right? Let me just tell you who we are, what we do, and how we can support one another. So at the end, that's basically what we're doing throughout all of our cities that we see. We oversee 11 cities, the North County does. So with that said, there's a lot for me to do in making sure that I'm connecting with as much as possible. But police departments are one of them, fire departments are another, libraries are another, community centers are another, and sky's the limit. We are everywhere. Making sure that we're spreading the word because there are important entities like NAMI, right? Making sure that we're connecting with all these different awesome organizations to be able to spread out the word, which is essentially the main goal just spread out the word, let you know about us, let you know that we exist and that we're free and that we don't ask for anything. We don't ask for money. We don't ask for your, if your status, right? If you're legal or not. We don't ask for your medical insurance. We don't ask for none of that, right? We just want to help you. We just want to support you. We also have staff that knows different languages, right? So we can accommodate. I'm Spanish, speaking, so I'm able to connect, and I think that's something that's very important as well, right? With mental health and that stigma attached, we want to make sure that we're relatable and approachable, and that's why we have created such a solid team to be able to do that effectively in different communities.
Yeah, that's terrific. And one thing too, I was just thinking as you were going through that list of different numbers that people have to call to get to you, it's kind of like a cascading situation. The county is looking to have a direct line to trust, and they're working on that. So when that eventually comes to fruition, it's a matter of just figuring it all out and making sure there are enough people who can support the phone lines. Eventually, trust will have its own number, and I think they're working on trying to do that quite quickly. It's just a matter of logistics. So just for the community, that eventually, you won't even be having to call 911. You'll just have a direct line to trust. So that'll make a difference, I think, too.
Yeah. So the way that it is right now is you call 988, you explain your situation, and you request a trust team, and then they transfer you to the trust call center, which you hopefully don't have to reiterate your situation. But if you do, then that happens, and then they dispatch accordingly, right? What we're looking at in the near future, right? Hopefully by the end of the year, is that we have a direct line just to trust, right? So let's take away the 988 and just get a direct call center to trust. So that looks like it's in, the implementation is going to happen. And obviously, like I said, the community is very, very strong force in their, being advocates and making sure that we make this process as easy as possible, because I can't imagine being a person who is going through a crisis and going through 2 call centers, right? So we want to make it easier, and we want to make it easy for anybody to be able to connect, right? So hopefully, fingers crossed, we get this, resolved sooner than later, but it's happening, which is very exciting to hear.
Yeah, that's terrific. Is there anything else, Paula, you think we need to touch on that we haven't spoken about? I just looking through my notes, and anything in any of your slides that you might have missed when we were talking about it?
No, I think that we went through. You did great questions. We were able to answer everything. But I'm definitely open for any Q&As if anybody has any additional questions. Or if anybody does want to connect with me to be able to get additional resources, I'm your girl. Let me know, and I'm here, to be able to provide that.
What's the best number? We can put it in the chat maybe. What's the best number if somebody wants to reach out to you? Maybe Ravina can pop that into the chat if you can.
Yeah, so my phone number should be attached to the emails I exchanged with you, my work number, but I can definitely look it up right now and add it in that chat box. So give me just 1 second.
That'd be great. I don't see any questions in the chat or in the Q&A section.
Okay, so I'm going to provide my phone number.
Okay, well, Paul is doing that again. I think the biggest and most important thing to understand is that if any time you are worried about having law enforcement come to your door and the situation is such that you feel that you don't need law enforcement, that trust is always there to be an option for you. And I think, sometimes that's all a person needs is to talk to somebody who's been there, who's had life experience, and can help to calm them down a little bit, hopefully. So
It seems like there was one question.
Yeah, I see that now too.
Yeah, a couple questions.
Oh, so this is what we've talked about, right? So a friend of mine called 988, but they couldn't come out because it wasn't life-threatening. What is the criteria to get help?
Yeah, so I'm very sorry that your friend had to go through that, first of all, right? We want to make sure that that is not the case. I would say that from moving forward, make sure that we really emphasize on trust, right? Make sure you let them know that you know about the trust program and you want to be able to seek out that support and have somebody dispatched to you. Since we are low level crisis, there shouldn't be a reasoning why we wouldn't be going to a non life threatening call, because that is are the type of calls, right? So yeah, so for future reference, if you can just make sure in that call, say, I want the trust team. They are low level crisis, program, and I want to be able to have them come and check me out or check my friend out. I can definitely provide flyers. Do you think like providing a flyer PDF for everybody to be able to?
Yeah, I see that question too. Maybe, do you have a link? Isn't there a link to the trust, to trust with all the flyers or?
Unfortunately, I don't think so. I mean, I have the website.
Yeah,
You want me to pop that in?
yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, Ravita, I'm wondering, should we have some trust flyers in the office? Or do we have them in the office? Do we have trust flyers in the office?
I think I've seen some flyers in the office, but I'll confirm one more time.
Yeah.
And we can, but I think we the stand that we have, I believe there are flyers out there.
Okay.
If you're
Of
running
sorts.
low, I can also do a drop off and just drop off more flyers.
Okay,
We also
I'll keep you posted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also
But
have these cool little trifold little mini cards that have all that information, but just in a smaller version. So that could
Oh,
be something helpful for somebody who just can
yeah.
have that in their pockets, right?
oh yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah, that'd be really
So-
great, just to have it handy by your side or whatever, but if you have something you can put in the chat now, I maybe somebody will grab it or
Yeah.
There's a personal question here to you, Ravina. I sort of took over for you.
Yeah, no, for some reason I didn't see the questions, and
Yeah,
then
I know,
suddenly they popped up all of a
I
sudden.
know they popped up all at once. So this is a personal question, Paula. They said, how has being a mother shaped how you work in your role as a community collaborator? And does it impact how you prioritize your children's mental health, basically?
That's such a great question. Oh, so I actually come from a background of youth development. So previously, before joining the trust team, I was part of another organization called YCS, which is Youth Community Service, and we had an after-school program that really focused on mental health awareness, and they created their projects, about advocating for mental health, right? So that could be anything, right? Anything that they wanted to do a project on, and they were able to really flourish and make an importance of mental health. So with that said, that's what caught my attention into mental health and making sure that I'm able to be that force, right? How can I bring this understanding and be able to expand on it? So I've been working with youth for a good majority of my time. That when I came with trust, it's like only 18 and older. It was a different demographic and a different age group. But I think that that still is very much valid because I still have that outer spectrum of how I look at things, right? I think about the whole community and how everybody can still be able to, gain something from it. So this month and next month, we're focusing on education outreach. So that means anywhere like schools, PTAs, colleges, anything like that, that we can really go, and trade schools, anywhere that we can go to be able to target, the education realm. That is something very important for us. So we do not just block it off if it's like in a high school, right? We still want to make sure, like, it might not make sense right now, but it could be a possible future resource for you, right? And then as a mother, so this is more on a personal realm, but I went to high school at Gunn in Palo Alto, and I graduated 2009. So I'm not sure if people know, but 2009 was when the first suicides happened at the train tracks, and two of those were friends of mine. So it's very important for me to be able to be in the spot that I am today and be able to come back to Palo Alto and my community and overall and be able to come as an adult and be that person, right? Be that mentor, be that support system that I needed when I was in high school going through that. So
That was a
hopefully
tough time.
yeah, yeah.
It was a tough time. Yeah. But that also, and out of that tragedy came a lot of change in a good way.
Yes, and it definitely has helped me a lot to, as in my professional realm, to think, okay, like how was I facing this when I was younger? And what did I need when I was younger? That really helps me because it makes me be more advocate for my younger self, my younger version, and really help out, as much as I can because I've been through it and I know, exactly how much um intensity it was, and it was so unfamiliar to the adults around us, and it was just a lot of chaos, right? Of just not knowing what to do and how to handle it.
Totally, totally. There's another question here. In what scenario would trust implement a 5150 if you had to? What would be the criteria for that? Have you had one of those situations yet?
I think we were really close to one. I think that we did activate MCRT to be able to come and provide support. But I can definitely say if somebody is going to the point that they're hurting themselves or putting themselves in dangerous situations. So obviously I'll keep it vague because I don't want to share any personal information,
Yes.
but it was somebody who was really roaming into the streets and just really, and talking, really chaotic, really not making any sense, which is not, such an extreme, but then it went from their safety of them kind of going into the street, coming back, not really being aware of that safety net that needs to be happening, right? So that would be one, right? So anybody who's like really like pushing their safety to a limit, and obviously putting our team also in risk is another one too. Um, Self-harm or anybody who is locking themselves up in a bathroom and like, we just don't know what's happening, right? They could have, a weapon, or they could be taking pills, or it could be many different scenarios. So we want to make sure that their safety is priority. The safety of our team is priority. So those are little areas that we definitely look out as, red flags.
Yeah, I mean, I think I remember the discussion too was if there was any real threat to a person other than them, or if it was just a really questionable situation that you would be able to do that, or if God forbid there was a weapon involved, then you would immediately be calling 911. I mean,
Yes, yes. As I mentioned, it just really depends on the scenario, right, of what's happening at that moment. But we always have, those lenses activated to make sure that we are looking out for our clients, the family members around our team, and we just want everybody to be safe, right? So that is highest priority.
Totally, totally, absolutely. Ravina, I don't see any more questions here. I saw 4. I think we addressed them all.
I think so.
Nothing in the chat, right? You don't see anything, do you?
No, I don't see any of them. Hold
Okay.
on. Okay, just a second. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah.
I did add the link to Momentum for Health, and it goes into trust. So it tells you everything basically that I said today with more detail. And hopefully that could be a great resource for you. And I can definitely, like I said, drop off more flyers. That way, if you ever, feel like you need a physical sheet, go right ahead. You'll be able to have that available as well.
Yeah.
That's perfect. And then I'll keep you posted if we're running low on our flyers and those cards if we need those as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, those cards sound good. The cards sound good. Yeah. I think that's it, Ravina. Paula,
I think so.
so
Yeah.
grateful that you could come to this evening and, explain everything. It's such an important service for the community.
No, yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. I think that, this has been the most relaxed presentation I've ever had. I like this form. I think that this is something that I'm going to advocate to be able to have. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for, putting those listening ears and making sure that, hopefully this is a great service for yourself, for somebody that you love so much, and make sure that, we're here to support in any way possible. So just know that we're here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paula. And I'm seeing a lot of thank yous
I'm
and
seeing that too.
appreciation for the work that you're doing in the chat right now. So thank you for everything that you do.
Awesome.
Thank
awesome.
you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good evening.
Have a
Thanks,
good
Maureen.
evening, everyone.
My pleasure. Take
All right.
care.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next month.